The Atlanta Falcons won the toss. They received. That means they will be working into the wind here in the first quarter. You see the wind gusting up to 37 miles per hour. And Jim Mora, 43-year-old Jim Mora, the 12th head coach in Falcons history, set the single-season record as a rookie head coach with a total of 11 wins during the regular season. And no head coach in the history of the Eagles has won more games than Andy Reid. But what's been hanging over Reid in this Philadelphia Eagles group is getting past this round and into the Super Bowl. Who's going to Jacksonville? Glad you're with us. And catching it with his momentum, carrying him backward is Rawson, who had such a big week last weekend. Out to the 19, that is it. He was dropped immediately. Roderick Hood on the tackle, a 19-yard return, and Michael Vick, who didn't have to do much with his arm last week against the St. Louis Rams, but certainly did plenty with his legs, protected by this offensive line. Todd McClure is in the center of it all, making the offensive line calls. Backs and receivers, this was the best running team in the NFL this season. Warwick Dunn with a lot of T.J. Duckett mixed in. And they'll start in the shotgun. Vick gets to the edge. Doesn't get much. Picked up 2. Keith Adams on the stop. And we look at the defense for Philadelphia. Jim Johnson's crew. Jim Johnson, the most aggressive blitzer in the NFC. Up front, Kearse, Simon, Walker, and Burgess. They get Hollis Thomas back for the playoffs, and that's big when you play against a guy like Vick. To try to rotate in fresh defensive linemen. Trotter is such a difference maker at middle linebacker, and 3 Pro Bowlers in their very good secondary. 2nd and 8. Handoff is to Dunn. Dunn picks up 1. Keith Adams again. And it's Adams who's getting the start in place of the injured Mark Semino, a former Falcon. They'd love to have Semino out there, Troy, because of the speed he provides at linebacker against a guy like Vick, but Adams has been impressive lately.
Yeah, surprisingly enough, Keith Adams is actually a faster linebacker than what Mark Semino is, and he is outstanding in run defense. So a perfect substitution for Mark Semino going up against a team like the Falcons, who clearly rely on running the football.
3rd down and 7. Vick going to try and run for it. Dawkins was his first to get his hands on him. And out to the 25. Time for a punt from Atlanta. A gain of only 2. And Brian Dawkins, the Pro Bowl free safety, was the first to get his mitts on Michael Vick.
And that's going to be the key throughout this entire game. You see Michael Vick, he's looking to throw the ball to his left. Look at the lane that he's got to run. Typically, he's been able to outrun people to the sideline. Brian Dawkins attacked him and got him before he was able to get out in space.
And Dawkins barely moved in coverage. He just basically sat there and waited on Mike Vick.
Not easy to punt into the wind, and it just hits a wall. Chris Moore takes a good Atlanta bounce and gets down just inside the 40. So all things considered, that's about as good as Chris Moore is going to do. Starting from their own 39. McNabb throws, pretty pass, as he takes it just inside the Atlanta 49, a completion of 12 yards.
Well, here we are, and Todd Pinkston, when a corner is off and gives him a free release, as Jason Webster is doing, he's pretty good at pushing that corner off and then coming out of his route.
On 1st down, pressure on McNabb, and he'll step up and run. Penalty flag on the play as McNabb is brought down just shy of the 40. And we'll see who the penalty is against. The Eagles saying that it's against Atlanta. One thing Ed Donatel, who's the defensive coordinator for the Falcons, believes going into this game is that McNabb will run more.
Holding 91 defense. 5-yard penalty from the end of the run. 1st down.
They get Brady Smith. That's another 1st down for Philadelphia. Guys, I thought that was interesting, though, that with all the pressure on McNabb and with those great legs and what he can do as a running back carrying the football. He thinks McNabb will run more today than he has all year.
And I agree, and I think he should. And I definitely think McNabb was trying to send a signal with that early run. Don't get too fancy with your pass rush, guys.
Westbrook touches it for the first time today, and he gets nothing. Let's look at the offense and the offensive line. The big story at the end of the day last week in their win over Minnesota was John Runyon hurting his right knee. He's okay. He's wearing a brace on that right knee, and he will have his hands full all day with Patrick Kearney. Pro Bowlers Trey Thomas on the left side. And as we said last week, the Vikings came in saying, "Where's Waldo?" for Brian Westbrook, trying to find out where he is every time the Eagles break the huddle. No doubt the Falcons are doing the same.
Well, they won't have a hard time finding him right now. He's on the sidelines.
Just where they'd like him to be.
There's such an advantage for the Eagles working this direction with the wind in this first quarter. Screen pass, Perry, and what a good play coming up to make the stop is Brooking. That'll bring up 3rd down and long for Philadelphia as Perry picked up only 3.
You know, you just couldn't ask for more than what the Philadelphia Eagles defense did in that first drive. They needed the extra time with the wind here, and right now you have a huge 3rd down conversion because they really are going to have 2 quarters in this game in this direction with a very strong wind.
14th ranked defense during the regular season with the Atlanta Falcons. On 3rd down, over the middle, pass too high. And from this spot, you're looking at roughly a 50-yard field goal.
And when we've seen Donovan McNabb miss, it's generally early in the game and generally high, and that's exactly what happened to him there.
So I don't think there's any doubt that distance-wise, Akers, who's a strong kicker, Troy, anyway, can get it to or through the uprights. The question is, what's the wind going to do with it during its flight with the wind straight at the back of Akers right here?
Well, and he's talking.